Hey, thanks everybody for tuning in. It's another week of the breakdown here on the LoudMouth MMA podcast network. I'm your co-host, Max Friedman, known as Trademark MMA out there for Cage Side Press and the Body Lock. And I am joined by my illustrious co-host all the way in the Netherlands, Marcel Dorff of MMA DNA. Big Marcel, are you surviving amidst this Facebook and Instagram crash of 2019, it seems?
Dude, man, I'm so fucked up about it. Oh, sorry. Can I say that? I'm sorry. I'm so annoyed about it, man. I mean, I have 4 or 5 articles to post. I can't post it. Yeah, it's on the website, but not on Facebook. I have like 3 or 4 fight announcements that are announced already by many people. It's on Twitter, on my Twitter as well, but I can't put it on Instagram. It's just super annoying, man. And now I've logged out on Instagram to log in, and now I can't log in anymore. So I'm completely wasted about that, man. But let's don't talk about it anymore because I get really annoyed by it.
All right. Well, all those fight announcements found at Big Marcel 24 on Twitter and MMA DNA. So not to worry, he's still got you covered. But we're here to talk the breakdown. UFC Fight Night 147 coming up Saturday, March 16th from the O2 Arena in London, England, the United Kingdom. The entire card will be on ESPN Plus. As a reminder to all our listeners, we are the breakdown on the LoudMouth MMA Podcast Network. We are found at iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Other shows on the network, be sure to check those out. The Not Safe for Work MMA show, MMA Yesterday. We got some Fight Companions interviews and Around the Cage hosted by our boy Davidson Baker of the Fan-Sided MMA and My MMA News. Pretty much MMA's version of Around the Horn. Really fun show. We've both been on it. Would really encourage everyone to check that out. It's a really unique look in some of the mixed martial arts hot topics today. Excited for a daytime card, a card that's actually a realistic time in your time zone?
Yeah, man, but I can't watch anything about it because I have to cover an event in Belgium. So
All right. Well, I guess Big Marcel's going to have that DVR rolling or watch on stream on Fight Pass later that night.
definitely for sure, man.
All right. Well, it was another big week for Big Marcel. No pun intended. Unfortunately, my UFC Wichita picks were not good. 4-9 on the night versus 9-4 for my companion. And Big Marcel has officially taken the lead for this season starting in 2019. He is at 54-24. I'm right behind him at 52-36. 4 bonuses for Big Marcel. Six bonuses for Big Marcel. 4 bonuses for me. 3 underdogs for Big Marcel. 2 for me. Man, you took over across the board. I need to get back on the wagon here. Time to put up and get it done.
Yeah, man. It's I told you, man. Slow starter. I told you.
Coming on strong, but we'll see how that goes. You know, European expert over here. Now he's got a fight card in London, and let's just watch the American come over and take over on this one.
I always suck at European cards, so here's your chance, man. It's definitely true, 100%.
All right, well, let's not waste any more time here. It's time to get going. UFC London, UFC Fight Night 147, and kicking things off is a really fun matchup. Mike Grundy taking on Nad Narimani. This fight could have taken place in Cage Warriors like 2 years ago. It seems like 2 real veterans of the United Kingdom MMA scene. Great to see Mike Grundy finally get that UFC opportunity. He's a training partner of some of the greats we've seen, like Darren Till, who's in the main event in the evening. 11-1 overall, winner of 8 straight. About 16 months on the shelf, though, so something to look out for. Narimani seems like he's making a lot of improvements since working at Team Alpha Male. 12-2 overall, 5 straight for him, 2-0 in the UFC. Big Marcel, intro fight of the night. How do we see it going? And before we stop you, Nad Narimani minus 190 favorite. Comeback on the newcomer Mike Grundy is plus 165.
Very tough fight to pick. I mean, Mike Grundy, he hasn't fought like since 2017. It was for the Aspera title against Fernando Bruno, who was a former UFC fighter, was a finalist on Tough Brazil, I think, against Clayco Franca.
You are correct, sir.
Yeah.
Tough Brazil 4.
Yeah, exactly. So he was supposed to fight in Pancras in 2018, but he got injured. Now he's in the UFC. Not Narimani. Grundy is a good fighter, man. He's a tough guy, definitely on the ground, but we shouldn't underestimate Nat Narimani. He's also very tough. I think he's also pretty decent ground game. Got that upset win against Paddy Pimblett for many people in Cage Warriors, then got signed by the UFC. 2 wins, pretty dominant wins against Khalid Taha and Anderson Dos Santos, Barinia. Um, Man, this is such a tough fight. But I think you mentioned that Grundy hasn't fought since 2017, and that's a long layoff. Grundy, very tough guy, but I have to favor Nat Narimani here. I'm going with a very close split decision here. But this is a very pick and fight in this one, 50-50 on this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely a lot closer than this betting line, but I'm going to favor Nad Narimani here too. I think he's really turned into his own since working at Team Alpha Male. You mentioned the 2 wins over Khalid Taha, Anderson Barinia. Just seems to be putting it together. I was really disappointed he didn't end up fighting
Nasrat.
who?
Nasrat Akbaras.
No, not that one. Oh, I was looking forward to that fight too. Enrique Barzola, Fuerte.
Yeah, in Buenos Aires. Yeah.
Yeah. Nonetheless, really good card to kick things off. Some regional, former regional European circuit veterans. They'll get the crowd going at the London O2, that's for sure. Second fight of the night, we head down to women's flyweight, where Priscilla Cachoeira taking on Meatball Molly McCann. McCann is a -185 favorite, and man, expect Meatball Molly to have that crowd rocking in the O2. She's made a name for herself in London. She's got a huge following. Typically, a really good top pressure, heavy hands, but beaten soundly in her UFC debut by Jillian Robertson. It was a very one-sided fight in that one. Cachoeira, 8-1 overall, coming off a brutal beating the hands of the now champion Valentina Shevchenko. Cachoeira, she showed she can take a beating, but she won't go quietly. Tough fight to call here. I got to favor McCann for having that big following in London, and seems like she's a little bit more experienced. But Big Marcel, what's your take?
Yeah, man, I actually gonna go against you in this one. I think Priscilla Cachoeira, she got probably the toughest debut you can have in the women's flyweight division. Against Valentina Shevchenko. She hung in there. I think was a little bit late stoppage, man. I think I was very happy that Shevchenko ended that one with a submission because Yamasaki was a no way soon to stop that fight, which he should have done earlier. Molly McCann, I think, very underwhelming debut against Gillian Robertson, who showed Molly McCann's holes on the ground. I think Cachoeira, McCann. I'm going with Cachoeira here, and I think she finishes it in the second or third round here. I think McCann has definitely some fan base in England, but it's in London, man. It's not in Liverpool, right? So I don't know about that, but yeah, I'm going with Cachoeira here by TKO in the second or in the third round, and yeah, she's gonna like. This is actually her first chance, in my opinion, in the UFC. I think she was fed to Valentina Shevchenko to get her first win at flyweight, honestly. So going with Cachoeira here, and yeah, that's it.
Interesting take there, and with her and Darren Till on the card, expect a lot of the Scousers coming from Liverpool to be in attendance. All right, well, we had to featherweight for this next one, and this is a real gritty fight, if you ask me. Danny Ige, -155 favorite against Scotland's Danny Henry, the +135 underdog. Henry, 2 really impressive performances in the UFC thus far. Daniel Tamer, that decision win and a first-round finish over Hakeem Dawodu. He's a big underdog in that one. Dan Ige, Las Vegas based, but seems to be training all over the place. I don't really know where he does his official home camps. I see him pop up everywhere. Winner of back-to-back fights, really well-rounded fighter. Seems to have grown since his loss to Julio Arce. Love the way he grinded out a win over Jordan Griffin last December. Big Marcel, real tough matchup here at 145 pounds. How does this play out?
Yeah, like you said, the hedge, Danny Henry, looked pretty good in his 2 UFC fights. He's a former EFC champion. By the way, Dana White, shame on you, dude, for not giving Danny Henry his bonus against Hakeem Dawodu last time out. I mean, come on, that was super impressive. Yeah, what can you say about Dan Ige? I'm really, I think he's really talented. His only loss was against Julio Arce, which I think is a great fighter as well. His last two fights at Santiago, quick TKO KO finish. Jordan Griffin, tough grinding match. It's a tough one to pick here again. I think this fight should be on the main card on this card, actually, in my opinion. I'm taking Dan Ige, man. Unanimous decision. I think he gets it done. I think Ige is probably the best fighter that Danny Henry has faced so far. Not taking anything away from Hakeem Dawodu and Daniel Tamor, but yeah, I'm definitely going with Dan Ige here. I think he gets it done by a unanimous decision on
I'm
the
right there
ground.
with you. I think Ige's got he's got a real high ceiling at featherweight. Really like to see him continue to develop into his own. Dan Ige unanimous decision victory there. All right, well, we go to middleweight. Next up, we got a fun one here. Tom Breeze, the England's native, taking on Ian Heinisch. The MMA gods clearly don't want us to see Tom Breeze versus Cesar Mutanch. I mean, this is the third time it's been scratched. It's just a sign. Don't book this fight anymore. But nonetheless, Ian Steps Factory X's Ian Heinisch impressively grinded out a win over the aforementioned Cesar Mutanch in his debut. I believe that was in Buenos Aires. And Breeze, inactivity, only 1-0 at middleweight, but impressive in that fight against Dan Kelly. Really mixes up his combinations well. Big, powerful left hand, but Heinisch, great story. Not sure if he'll be able to avoid that kind of crisp technical boxing of Breeze, but man, he is tough and he is mentally strong too. Hard to call this one. Big Marcel, we got Tom Breeze, the -135 favorite. Does he get it done in his home country, or does Heinisch get the betting odds upset at +115?
Man, this is also a banger, I think. Ian Heinisch, great debut on short notice, like not even a week notice. He won against Cesar Ferreira in South America, and that's huge in my opinion. Former LFA champion, contender series winner against Justin Sumter. Yeah, also on James Lynch's interview, Ian Heinisch said he also almost couldn't fight in London because of his visa issues or something, but it was now resolved. So happy this fight is still on. Tom Breeze, like you said, very inactive. Only fight against Dan Kelly last year was a solid win. It was a TKO knockout win for him. I'm favoring Ian Heinisch here for some reason. I think he is building a nice streak. He's doing well. I see him grinding this maybe out on the ground. I think Breeze has all the potential to be a superstar, I think, but I don't see it. I don't see it in his fights, in most of his fights that he can bring, that he shows it. So Ian Heinisch for me here by unanimous decision, getting the upset win over the hometown favorite or the home country favorite.
Yeah, I could certainly see the fight going that way, but I've always been high on Tom Breeze ever since he really just brutally beat down Cahal Pendred. And even in his UFC debut, it was against Jorge, it was Wendell Oliveira, correct? Or was it Jorge Blade Oliveira? Or was it neither of them?
Wasn't it Luis Dutra? I'm not sure.
Oh, Luis Pesuaro Dutra.
Yeah.
They were all three on that card, and I mixed them up. But you're right. Darren Till fought Wendell Oliveira on that card.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Luis Pesuaro Dutra. Good recognition there, my co-host. I like Tom Breeze. I like that big left hand. I think he's going to find a home for it. TKO in the second round, but wouldn't be surprised if Heinisch gets another grind him out victory. All right, well, we go to 205 pounds here as Saparbek Safarov takes on Niku Negumarianu. Hope I said that right.
It's a little not weird that name, man.
Negumarianu. I hope I said that right. Anyway, Safarov, desperate need of a win. 0-2 in the UFC, finished twice. Granted, tough competition, but still. And he was supposed to fight Gokhan Saki in this one. Saki pulled out. In steps the newcomer from Romania. Negumarianu, 9-0. Very impressive on the Eastern European regional scene. Still only 24. A lot of those out there seem to be calling into question his record and level of competition, though. But for me, Safarov just doesn't seem to be doing anything particularly well. I know he's tough. He can take a punch, but to me, I just don't know if he's UFC caliber. I'm going to favor the newcomer with a first-round TKO. Big Marcel, what happens in this guy?
Yeah, man. I mean, Zafarov, his only highlight I've seen so far was slapping his opponent at the weigh-in before he signed with the UFC. Not very high on Zafarov at all, I think. One of the Russian guys who I'm not very high on. So Nick Negomiriano, I have no idea how to say that. I pick him as well. People say he has a padded record. He didn't fought great opponents, but I favored him in this fight because I think he matches up well with Zafarov. So going with him, I see him getting that finish early as well. Probably a TKO in the first or second round. But yeah, not a fight I'm really looking forward to, honestly. But hey, let's see what happens, man. I mean, if Nick, I'm gonna just call him Nico. If Nico is gonna get a good finish here, maybe it sets him up for a good fight next. But yeah, we'll see what's happening, right?
Well, at least Safarov seems to always be an exciting fight. So even if it's not the most one to look forward to on this card, still could see some action here.
He got fight of the night as his debut against Villante. So
John Villante, yeah, that was in upstate New York, I believe, Albany. Yeah. All right, well, we go to 155 pounds here, and we got Joseph Duffy coming back as a -210 favorite. He takes on Bone Crusher Mark Diakiese, the +175 underdog. Big Marcel, the floor is yours. What's going on here?
Yeah, Mark Diakiese, very high ceiling when he signed with the UFC, coming off 2 quick KO wins in Bama and the Lonsdale Championship. That's like for the regional Bama fighters. You get the Bama World title and the Lonsdale title. Lonsdale title can only be won by British fighters. He defeated Rick Salvarai and Kane Musa. Then he got signed by the UFC. Was supposed to fight Reza Madadi in his debut, but he got Lucas Sajewski instead. 3 wins. Pretty decent wins. Only as Frankie Perez was a difficult one for him. He grinded it out in the 3rd round. But then the 3-fight losing skid, man, against Closey Hooker and Hakparas. Hakparas was pretty decisive for Nasrat. I don't think he had any chance, Diakiese, in that fight. Joe Duffy, also not very active lately. Last fight in November 2017. But his basics are good, man. He's a very complete fighter. And Diakiese is mostly a knockout specialist, a stand-up fighter, and he struggles on the ground. And I think Joseph Duffy can get this fight to the ground and submit him, probably in the 2nd round, going with the Irish Joe submission, 2nd round.
Yeah, no, I've always been high on Duffy. I mean, he's 4-2 overall in the UFC. A lot of those wins, though, against guys who are no longer with the organization, those lone losses to James Vick and Dustin Poirier. Not sure if he's going to be the villain in this one. Diakiese is from England, but based in the United States, an American top team. But Duffy, Ireland. So interesting to see how the crowd splits there. Like you mentioned, first time in the cage since 2017. Was booked against both Ross Pearson and Damir Ismagulov at one point last year, but suffered an injury there. His teammate, like you mentioned, Nasrat Hakparas, fought Mark Diakiese and a pretty dominant win for Hakparas. I don't know what's going on with Diakiese. I don't know if it's a confidence thing or just seems lost in there these days. He's not the same fighter that came out and just starched Timu Pakalin. I'll go with Duffy here too. Submission, second round as well. Next, another fun one with a Suffolk, England own Suffolk, England. I believe that's how you say it. Arnold Allen, Almighty, taking on Jordan Rinaldi. Allen, the -150 favorite. The comeback on North Carolina's Rinaldi is +130. Arnold Allen should have the crowd behind him. Does do his fight camps at TriStar, though. Important to note. He'll be out there with Joe Duffy for that one. A lot of inactivity for the youngster, but he is one tough customer. I mean, he's unbeaten in the UFC, 4-0. Rinaldi finally bit in the win column in his featherweight debut, accrued tonight. Dominant there. Really big for the weight class, too. Used his size in that one to get takedowns. And I can see him having some success against Arnold Allen with takedowns, similar to how Mads Burnell did. But Arnold Allen, I like his submission game. I really like his guillotine. I like his striking at range. it seems like the ceiling is very high for him. Big Marcel, does Allen get it done, or do we see an upset victory?
Man, Arnold Allen, Mr. Hail Mary. I mean, he got pretty much dominated against Alan Omar, and he got that ninja choke submission, and then he gets dominated by Matt Burnell, and he gets that submission. Makwan Amirkhani, a split decision. He got a dominant decision over Judson Mays as his 4 wins in the UFC. Yana Rinaldi did very well against Jason Knight, unanimous decision, and he only lost in the UFC against Gregor Gillespie decisive. And Abel Trujillo was a pretty good fight from him. I think he lost unanimous decision, but was a short notice fight. He from Flute. Alvaro Herrera, one of the 5 from Flute chokes in the UFC. So yeah, what can I say? I really favor Rinaldi in this one for some reason. I think he can get the upset win here. Arnold Allen was very close many times to lose, but he gets that switch in the 3rd round, and and he gets the submission win for some reason. Crazy against Burnell, but he got completely dominated in that fight. I think Rinaldi can do the same, man. He can take him down, and he can hold him down, probably grinding on Arnold Allen. He should just have to watch out he doesn't get caught like Burnell did. But yeah, I favor Rinaldi in this one by unanimous decision.
Interesting. Yeah. Arnold Allen has been behind on the scorecards before, but finds a way to get it done. I'm going to take him in his home country here. Allen by submission, 3rd round. Ninja choke, guillotine choke, one of them. But that is the featured prelim on the ESPN Plus prelims, and that comes at you 1 p.m. Eastern time, which, if I'm not mistaken, is 7 p.m. in the Netherlands. So I believe so. No?
9.
9? Oh, because we're even a further hour. All right, went the wrong direction with daylight savings time. My apologies. All right, kicking things off, we go to the main card here on ESPN Plus. It's the Battle of Wales. You ready, Big Marcel? The Battle of Wales. And do we have a loser leaves town matchup in this one?
Yeah, man, the Battle of Wales. I can't sleep for weeks now already because I'm thinking about this fight. Yeah, I take loser leaves town. Yeah, honestly.
All right. Yeah. Well, Jack Marshman taking on John Phillips. Marshman, the -165 favorite. Comeback on the white Mike Tyson. John Phillips +135. Big Marcel, loser leaves town. What else is going to happen in this one?
A pretty easy pick for me, in my opinion. I think Marshman has a better game overall than John Phillips does, so I'm picking Marshman by 1st round knockout.
Marshman by 1st round knockout?
Yeah, probably by ground and pound.
All right. Well, Hammer Marshman, I mean, really hasn't shown me much since his UFC debut in 2016. I mean, he's got back-to-back losses, lost 3 of 4, a failed weight cut to 1, definitely on the chopping block in this one. Phillips, meanwhile, 0-2 in the UFC. Losses to Charles Byrd, Kevin Holland, both one-sided. But I don't know. For some reason, I think this is actually a favorable matchup for him. I'm the only person that I've seen yet on social media actually pick John Phillips, but I'm going to take him to get it done here by a 1st-round knockout. I'm just not sold on Marshman at all.
You will be the only person who pick him, probably.
We may have our poll for this one. Actually, I don't know yet. Not yet. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. All right, not too much left to say there, but now we head to 170 for this next one. Really interesting stylistic clash. Claudio Hannibal Silva is a -150 favorite against Hot Chocolate Danny Roberts, the +130 underdog. Silva 3-0 in the UFC, although that is across 5 years in the organization. Returned in 2018 from 4 years away. Took a beating from Nordine Taleb, but got the fight to the ground, snatched up the choke, and got the win. Quite frankly, I could see this fight going exactly the same way. I mean, Danny Roberts, very well-rounded English kickboxer, won Hard Knocks 365. He has won back-to-back fights, and he is 5-2 overall in the UFC. Definitely has the edge on the feet. He is also from England, if I'm not mistaken. But man, something's telling me that Silva's gonna drag it to the ground and find a submission. But Big Marcel, what are your thoughts on this matchup here?
Exactly the same, man. I think Silva is a very underrated guy. He got some problems with gambling addiction, I think, what I've read on social media from, I don't know which website. It was a big website, by the way. And he came back after.
He did too? I remember hearing that about Antonio Braga Neto, too.
I'm switching people now. I don't know if that's the case. I'm sorry.
It could be. No, it could be. I mean, gambling addiction is a serious problem out there.
I might be switching here, people. So if I did, my apologies. Cancel that out. What I said, I'm not sure anymore. Thank you for filling that for me and Max. But Claudio Silva, I'm with you on this one, man. I think he gets a submission. He gets it done against Danny Roberts, first or second round. Yeah,
It's
I'm with
always
you on that one.
interesting to see guys matched up who had different results against the same fighter. You know, Silva got the win over Nordine Taleb. Roberts took the TKO loss, but yet those two end up matched up. Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, big high-profile fight at bantamweight's riding win streaks here. Nathaniel Wood, the minus 310 favorite against Jose Quinones Teco, the plus 255 underdog. Wood, the prospect, 15-3 overall, 2-0 in the UFC, has won 7 straight. His last loss actually was not even a true loss because it was a broken knee leg injury, if I recall correctly. He's London's own too, so expect that O2 crowd to be fully behind him. Meanwhile, Teco out of Mexico, one of the most underrated competitors in the division, if you're asking me. He's 4-1 in the UFC with that 4-fight winning streak. That lone loss was on the Ultimate Fighter Latino America Season 1 finale against Alejandro Diablito Perez, Turbo Perez. Very gritty, trains at Alliance with Dominic Cruz, Eric Goyito Perez, Darian Caldwell, a plethora of bantamweight talent out there. A lot of outlets out there seem to be reporting this is a squash match for Wood, but got to think Eric Del Fiero and team will definitely have their fighter well prepared. He's a tough guy. He won't go quietly in this one. I think it's a lot closer than this line suggests. Big Marcel, what's going to happen?
Just wanted to say I love you still say Diablito because I do too. It's just much better than Turbo. Yeah, Jose Quinones, I gotta say, man, I'm not impressed by the dude, man. He has a great winning streak right now. He's 4-1, like you said, but he's like I said in another podcast, not to being disrespectful, but he is the guy with the best win streak, with the least, how do you say that, impressive showing. Against Teruto Ishihara wasn't impressive at all. He just edged that one out, in my opinion. The Nathaniel Wood, he has the hype behind him. I think the hype is justified. What I saw so far, also in Cage Warriors and in Bama, he's a good dude, man. I mean, I remember his fight against was it against Josh Reed? I think that was a classic. Do you remember that one in Cage Warriors?
Yeah.
It was an absolute classic, man. He came back from almost being beaten, and he knocked him out or TKO'd him. In the UFC, 2 solid wins against veteran Johnny Eduardo and against Andre Ewell most recently. I think it's a favorable matchup for Wood, man. I think they also wanted to this sounds very disrespectful, but I don't mean it this way. They also wanted to fat Quinones to Sean O'Malley before, because they knew he has a good record, in the UFC. He's 4-1, a good record overall, but he's not impressive, man, at all, and he's beatable, and Wood will show that he's beatable, and he will probably finish him with a TKO in the second round, I think. This is a perfect matchup for Wood, very favorable in his own country. Daniel Wood is going to do this one, man. I really think that.
Yeah, I favor Wood here too. I don't see him finishing Teco though. I think Quinones has earned his spot in the UFC, and he, despite the wins coming against perhaps lesser competition, he's still got it done. I mean, he's getting matched up against who he's getting matched up against, and he's finding a way to win. I favor Wood to win a decision here. Interesting fact about Jose Teco Quinones: fights at 135 pounds. The only other loss on his record besides Perez is to Davi Ramos, who fights at 155 pounds, has also fought at 170 pounds in the past. So pretty interesting to know that those two fought back in the day. All right, well, we go to the light heavyweight division, and we got some ranked fighters competing here. Volkan Ozdemir, number 6, and he takes on Dominic Reyes, number 8. Reyes, the number 8 seed, is a big favorite in this one, minus 270. Comeback on no time, Ozdemir, plus 230. Perhaps title implications, especially for Reyes in this one. 10-0, 4-0 in the UFC, 3 finishes. And let's be real, in his last bout against Ovin St. Preux, it pretty much should have been a 4th finish. He did knock him out at the end of the fight, UFC 229. Meanwhile, Ozdemir 15-3 overall, 3-2 in the UFC, but he is coming off back-to-back losses and finished in both of those. Big Marcel, do we have a youngster evolving and emerging as a new contender at 205, or does Ozdemir slap him right back down the ladder?
For sure, man. I think Reyes is going to win this one. I mean, Ozdemir has been looking pretty okay in the UFC, but it's also first round finishes all the time. So he got that quick knockout, those quick knockout wins in the UFC against Jimmy Manuwa and against Misha Serkinov. His debut against OSP, I know it was short notice, but I don't think he won that fight, honestly. So his last 2 fights weren't as good as you expected. He did pretty well against Anthony Smith from the beginning, but Anthony Smith, dude this cardio for days, and he showed that in that fight. Dominic Reyes, very impressive so far. Like you said, he should have had 4 finishes. It's like a little bit like Brad Katona against Matthew Lopez, who also got robbed from a finish in the last second. But yeah, I have to pick Dominic Reyes here, going probably by. I will finish him, I think, man. I think he probably gets. Let's go crazy. I'm going with a submission win in the 2nd round by rear naked choke. I see this happening, man. Dominic Reyes. Dominic Reyes. I don't have anything to add more.
Yeah, Reyes, big athletic, trains at Cobra Kai under Joe Stevenson. I know he's been cross-training in Colorado, working with a lot of different looks out there. Ozdemir, he comes to bang, no time, throws that heavy leather. I like the explosive combinations that we see out of Reyes the most. It just seems like he's very technical on the feet. I mean, just picked apart Jared Cannonier, the win over Ovin St. Preux as well. Just he seems to be the real deal at 205 pounds, and I'm going to favor him to get a knockout here in the 2nd round. I'll take Reyes as well. Should be a fun fight, though, and don't sleep on Volkan Ozdemir. He has that power, too, to put the lights out. Co-main event time. We go to 170 pounds. Gunnar Nelson, the number 13 ranked UFC welterweight, taking on the number 10 ranked UFC welterweight, Leon Rocky Edwards. Edwards, a minus 155 favorite, and that's climbing up from minus 140. So he's has money coming in on him. Gunnar Nelson, the underdog, plus 135, up from plus 110. Big Marcel, take it away.
Yeah, Leon Edwards had his biggest win recently, last year, not recently, but in June last year against Donald Cerrone. But he faded in the last rounds, man. But this is a 3-rounder, so he wouldn't have that problem probably this time. A nice 6-fight win streak, only loss in the UFC. 2 losses in the UFC, but this most recent loss against Kamaru Usman in 2015, so that's some time ago. Gunnar Nelson, we all know what his forte is, a submission game. He's great on the ground. Only 3 losses in the UFC. 1 controversial loss by eye post against Santiago Ponzinibbio, against Damian Maia, which can happen, man. I mean, that guy is so good on the ground, and a split decision against Rick Story, which should have been unanimous. Yeah, I think Gunnar Nelson gets it done, man, with the ground game. He's a solid guy on the ground, very good. One of the few guys from SBG was actually really good on the ground, I think. He's actually from Mjolnir MMA, I think, but he trains SBG pretty often. Submission win here for Gunnar Nelson. Don't be surprised that Leon Edwards going to lose in front of his home country. And yeah, Leon Edwards is a solid fighter, but I don't see him getting to that, how do you say that, can avoid the ground game from Gunnar Nelson. He has to do something on his feet early, but besides his crazy quick knockout against Seth Basinski like a few years ago, I haven't seen so much from Edwards on the feet. And he had a tough and rather than against Barberina on the feet, for example. Barberina knocked him down in the 2nd or 3rd round, and he had to drag it to the ground. And if he has to take it to the ground against Gunny, he's not going to win that battle, I think. So Gunnar Nelson by submission in the 2nd round. Yeah,
Gunnar Nelson, perennial top 10 guy. I mean, 17-3-1 overall. SPG Ireland had that 1st-round knockout loss to Santiago Ponzinibbio, but bounced back with that brilliant win over Cowboy Oliveira. He's still very much relevant in this division. Edwards, though, he's someone I've been high on for a long time. I mean, 6 straight wins, 16-3 overall. His last loss, it's now the UFC welterweight champion, Kamaru Usman. A well-rounded guy with power. I don't know. Your argument was so convincing that now I'm thinking Nelson, but I got to go with my instinct at first, and that was Leon Edwards to get it done here with a big first round finish. I think he won't let Nelson close the distance. He's a faster guy. He's very quick on his feet, and he'll find that big shot early. So I'm going to take Rocky Edwards here, as I know he's the slight favorite, but man, close fight in that co-main event, and excited to see how that one plays out for sure. All right, well, we go to the main event of the evening, 5 rounds in the UFC's welterweight division. The number 3 ranked Darren Till getting a fight in his home country. He is a -240 favorite against the underdog +200 and the number 11 ranked Jorge Game Bread Masvidal. This should be a fun fight, and this should be contested entirely on the feet. I don't see this fight hitting the ground once. Till, though, we know coming off that Phil title bid, but prior to that was unbeaten in the UFC. Massive for the weight class. We know his documented struggles with weight cutting. Masvidal, meanwhile, on the heels of back-to-back losses, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and Damian Maia, has been out of action for quite some time. Till just seems to have a big size advantage in this one. And I like the way Till is very well versed on his feet with his striking, but hard to ignore the fact that he kind of laid an egg against Tyron Woodley in his last one. Big Marcel, main event of the evening. How does this one play out?
Yeah, this is a hectic fight of the night. I mean, Darren Till, he's a good standing up. We all know that. He's pretty technical, I think. Jorge Masvidal always brings a fight, but the problem with Jorge Masvidal is if he thinks he's winning, he's going to cruise. And that cost him a lot of decisions in his career, I think. And you can't do that in the country where your opponent comes from, in hostile territory. And Masvidal, it's just his style, man. He loves to pick people apart. He loves to keep it technical, a little bit boxing, and in my opinion, he wins many rounds with that. But in judges' eyes, normally he doesn't, because he cruises too much, and the other guy pressures him, and they don't see it. And that's the thing. And I think Till is pretty decent as well in the striking, like I said, like everybody knows. And man, if this was in America, I would be more on a 50-50 here because of the judging. But I see Till getting this win, or Masvidal has to do something very dominant to get the win. But he's cruising too much in fights, and he's still doing that. So we're getting Darren Till here by unanimous decision after 5 rounds. But I don't see him finishing Masvidal, and I don't see Masvidal finishing Till here. So technical stand-up battle with Till getting the unanimous decision nod here.
I'm right there with you. I see that's exactly how it plays out. We know how tough Jorge Masvidal is. I mean, when was the last time we ever seen him even remotely hurt in a fight? That's a big win for Darren Till. I think it's a unanimous decision. There's no finish in that one. But man, looking up and down the card, we have quite some action on tap for Saturday. Big Marcel, it's bonus time. You have officially taken the lead in the bonus standings. Who are your picks for? Well, I'll give you the first take for performance of the night bonuses. Who you got?
Damn it, I had fight of the night in my head. Performances. I'll go with performances. Gunnar Nelson. I always hated that I always have to pick the main card fighters because the UFC does it almost all the time, so I have to do it as well. So Gunnar Nelson, and who should we pick as well? Yeah, let's go with Dominic Reyes.
Okay. I'm also going to take Dominic Reyes, but I'm going to flip you on this. I'm going to take Leon Edwards with his big finish in the first round.
I knew you were going to do that.
All right. Fight of the night for me, and I know it's hard to pick because, like you just mentioned, the UFC doesn't always give the love to the prelim fighters. I mean, there are those occasions. The one that comes to my mind is the curtain jerker between Polo Reyes and Dong Hyun Ma from UFC 199 that just steals the show. And Dan Ige and Danny Henry, to me, seems like it has possibility to steal the show in this one. I am going to take that as my fight of the night. Big Marcel, fight of the night. Where are you leaning?
Sorry, dude. I'm very competitive in these things, so I want to have it right. So I'm going with Till against Masvidal.
Okay. Was your pick Ige and Henry?
I was thinking about it, but man, if Till Masvidal goes 5 rounds, in my opinion, I'm going with that one definitely because, like I said, main card, home guy against a foreigner. It draws attention, and that's where the UFC wants to keep the focus on the main card all the time. So definitely main event, and this main event will deliver, I think. So yeah, picking Till against Masvidal.
All right. Lock of the night. Who is your most confident pick, regardless of betting standings?
Oh man, um, that's a difficult one, man. I think many competitive fights right here. Let's go, Joseph Duffy.
All right. I thought about that one too, but I'm going to go Nathaniel Wood. I agree with your sentiment. I think he matches up really well with Quinones, but I'm not sure he gets a finish in that one. All right. Well, I only have one underdog to pick from this week. So John Phillips riding the wave the entire way. I'm sticking behind him. The white Mike Tyson gets it done. He is my underdog for the week. Big Marcel, you have 4 options here. You have Gunnar Nelson, Jordan Rinaldi, Ian Heinisch, and Priscilla Cachoeira. Who are you taking for your underdog?
Priscilla Cachoeira.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so not doubling up on Gunny.
Nah, I want to keep it. How do you say that? A little bit spread.
Yeah. Okay. That's fun. Let's recap the picks just before we get out of here. Big Marcel we have the same for kicking off the evening. Big Marcel, Nad Narimani. I also take Nad Narimani. We're split on the next one. I've got Molly McCann. He's got Priscilla Cachoeira, also his underdog pick for the evening. My pick for fight of the night, Dan Ige against Danny Henry. We are both taking Ige in this one. Split on this middleweight contest. I'm taking Ton Breeze. Big Marcel taking the underdog, Ian Heinisch. Both have the newcomer, Nico Negu Mariano, taking out Saprabek Safarov. We are both set on Joseph Duffy getting it done over Mark DeCasey. Big Marcel's lock of the evening, Joseph Duffy. Split on this next featherweight matchup. I'm taking Arnold Almighty Allen. He's got the underdog, Jordan Rinaldi. The next one, we are also split middleweights. We're both picking first-round knockouts in the Battle of Wales. He's got Jack Marshman. I've got John Phillips, also my underdog pick for the evening. Welterweight, Claudio Silva. We both picking him to get it done over Danny Roberts. My lock pick of the evening, also Big Marcel agrees. Nathaniel Wood will get it done over Jose Teco Quinones. Both have Dominic Reyes getting the win and a performance of the night bonus over Volkan Oezdemir. We are split in the co-main event. We both have performance of the night bonuses riding on it. I'm taking Leon Edwards. He is taking the underdog, Gunny Nelson. And we both have Darren Till getting it done in the main event over Jorge Gamebred Masvidal, and Big Marcel picking that to be fight of the night. Man, up and down the lineup. Big Marcel, any final thoughts on UFC Fight Night London?
Nothing, to be honest, man. I looking forward to watch the replay.
If Darren Till gets it done, do you think he gets matched up with Ben Askren to kind of build that potential feud right now?
That's a good one. I don't know. Will Darren Till stay at welterweight?
Also a question. He keeps toying with the idea of going up, but who knows?
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's maybe it would be a fun fight, I think. But yeah, let's see what happens. I don't know, man. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you match up if Darren Till wins, just the amount of hype that you can build with him and Ben Askren, the two personalities there, I think is something they will really look to capitalize on. I mean, Ben Askren, you see all this personality, but they match him up with Robbie Lawler, a guy that doesn't talk to media in his UFC debut. Granted, had to get the test out of the way, but I think that's the matchup to make if Till is in fact the winner come Saturday. All right, Big Marcel, before we get out of here, let the people know where can they find, follow, and see all of your content.
MMADNA.nl, my website. Big Marcel24 on Twitter. Also on Instagram, if I can update it again. Sorry guys, not my fault that the Instagram is working now. Yeah, that's it, man. And of course, watch the weekly when UFC events is there, the breakdown with the Trademark MMA, Max, and myself. And yeah, check out all the other podcasts at the LoudMouth MMA. And extra shout out to Carl, to Keith, to Davidson. You guys are all awesome. Thank you so much. And everybody I forget, I'm sorry, but you are more awesome even.
Just want to remind everyone to subscribe to the LoudMouth MMA Podcast Network. Want to thank our owners, our fearless leaders, Kyle Steele, Keith Schillen, our other co-hosts on the network, Fred Kirby, Davidson Baker, like you mentioned. Some great content out there. Really encourage everyone to check that out. You can find me on Twitter, Trademark MMA. But you know, I love to talk MMA. I love to talk to anyone. But if you want a true fan interaction, you want to talk some serious MMA, regardless of whether anywhere it is in the world, whatever level, you hit up Big Marcel 24 on Twitter. He will engage with you. That's the guy you want to talk to.
Thanks, man. And sorry, Fred, I forgot you. Love, man. Sorry.
Forgot your own co-host. How could you? No, it's all good. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in this week. We will be back next week for UFC Nashville. Looking forward to it.